Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. I am Chris, joined by my brothers Adam and Eric.
Hello.
Howdy.
And we are back in the room to talk more about video games. In our last episode, we discussed in great detail Resident Evil 4 and whether or not we think it should be remade. And because that was one of our top 5 PS2 games that we mentioned in a segment before, we are going to do an analysis or discussion on the other PS2 games that we classed as the best out there. And so Resi 4 was one of those games that we were probably too young to play when we had it. But this next game we're going to talk about, we were definitely too young to play when we had it. And
Absolutely.
so was everyone else who played it. And that was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Which I don't think was the first GTA game we had all played, even in a minor way. What's the first GTA you remember playing?
For me it was
Vice City.
no I played GTA on the PS1. So
Did you?
yeah.
I actually only tried GTA on the PS1 when I got the PlayStation Classic, and it's on it, and I was like, I'd never played. I never played the one that kicked off the series. Like, it's one of the biggest gaming series out there. Give it a go. Fucking hell, I didn't get very far. It's a whole different kind of game. That is
like Grand Theft Auto 3 to the previous Grand Theft Autos is very much like what Fallout 3 is to the original Fallout games.
Right. Okay. I've heard it a lot where Grand Theft Auto 3 is kind of the one that kicked off the Grand Theft Auto series as we know it. The kind of more modern. So you actually played the first Grand Theft Auto when you were younger?
I think it was the first one. I can't remember if the second one is London. But yeah, I think it was the first one on PlayStation 1. Yeah, played a bit of it. I didn't play much of it. I just played a little bit of it.
What about you?
That's my first GTA that
I said it was Vice City was the first one I played, and I remember playing it. Obviously, again, way too young to be playing it, but my biggest flaw with it, and it still stands today, is not being able to swim.
All right. Yeah,
like you're driving your car really fast, and you're like cruising down the road, and then another you come towards like a T junction, and there's like the key and everything, and then another car comes out of nowhere, and if you ram into that full speed, you're gone out the window into the water, and because this guy never learned how to swim, you just die, and you're like, okay.
I wonder, is that like written into the story? I don't know the story of Vice City at all, but Vice City is also
imagine it's a gaming mechanic.
Yeah, for back then though, like it was not unusual for your character not to be able to swim. Swimming in video games has historically been the worst thing ever, right? So it's not just the fact that like they don't want to add that ability because there's no more borders or anything like that, but the ability to swim, because your controls change, like the kind of inverted kind of controls, and then can you go underwater, and then how does that perform? And there's always been like a swimming level in games, and it was always the fucking worst thing about every game. Whether it was Tomb
my
Raider,
favorite parts of Tomb Raider were swimming
Zelda
games. They were unreal. Are you kidding me?
So it was just instead of wasting all our time and resources trying to get swimming to work, most games just didn't give you that ability. And
wasting our time? Would you work on the game?
No, wasting their time.
Yeah, do you not know Adam made Vice City? Like,
it's just you never even questioned it.
I did.
But he obviously did, because
which is weird because I don't know what game you were playing before that where you were
like, the swimming in this is unreal. It's like, why can't Vice City learn from Tomb Raider?
I don't know. It just stood out to me that I was able to do so much. I had so much freedom, and then I couldn't swim. And I was like, that's lame. Maybe I was being rebellious towards everyone else who loved Vice City, and I was like, oh well, you can't swim in it, so nah.
Vice City was also the first GTA I played, and we never owned it. I think I played it at a friend's house who had it. So I don't know much about that game's world and story really, except that I suppose it's supposed to be like Miami kind of a thing, and I think it's like in the 70s, and I just enjoyed the driving around and getting up to mischief and causing havoc on the streets, really. That was the appeal for me.
Very innocent way of saying that.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I'm keeping this PG, talking about this 18's game. But enough about the early GTA games. Let's talk San Andreas. Okay, so in talking about San Andreas, I suppose we should, like we normally would do. First of all, let's put it out there. This is intended for people who have played the game, are somewhat familiar with the game, or don't really care and just want to listen to people talk about it. Because I think much like the Skyrim episode we did before, this isn't like a point where like, and now we're going to get into spoilers like later on. Because there's a lot of people who play this game and just never play the story. Like, you know, like you don't have to. You might play the early missions, which I did, and then I gave up big time on that story. And there's loads of other stuff that I did with the game, and yet I would still class it as one of the top 5 PS2 games that I ever played.
Yeah, this is
never
just one of
finished
those
it.
games where it's like it's just the gameplay itself is just so much fun.
Yeah,
Like I'd put it in there like with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater kind of a thing. It's like you
right.
don't play Tony Hawk's for a fucking story or anything like that. You know, it's just the
I do like.
gameplay itself is incredible.
Yeah,
So it's like that.
yeah, and I think very much like Skyrim actually. I think everyone played it and everyone had a different experience with it and everyone liked it for different reasons possibly. So with that in mind, we could talk spoilers about the game from the get-go, because it's not, the story isn't necessarily the big talking point of the game. Although for some people it might be. But in general, what were your thoughts, your memories of this game?
Cheat codes.
Cheat
All
codes.
the cheat codes.
Cheat codes
Nothing but
engaged.
cheat codes.
God, do you remember cheat codes, lads?
Yeah.
Unreal. They used to always be
I
written on like a copy page because someone would have given to me in school and you take them home and tuck it
Well,
inside the case.
We
of your
also got
PS2 game.
I say we. Adam also got the cheat code books where it just have loads of games and all the different.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, the cool thing about San
Those-
Andreas one was I remember when we got it first. I think the first time I played it was my next door neighbor had it, and then we couldn't get a copy for like weeks. This thing was sold out for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I was out sick from school for about a week, and within that week they like lended it to me so I could play it. So that's actually the first time I played San Andreas. Like, so before I ever got it, it was my neighbor lent it to us, and there was no cheat codes out at the time. Like, there was no booklets and magazines because the game literally just came out.
Yeah, yeah.
But the cheats for Vice City worked. It's the same
Really?
commands. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, I
So
didn't know that.
you just have your magazine and you just look up the Vice City ones. And it was just trial and error. It's just like, I wonder if these will work, and I just put them in, and next minute I have a rhino.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh wait, that's a car, isn't it?
It's a tank.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
tank,
No,
yeah.
for a second I thought you meant an
Oh
actual
yeah,
rhino.
an actual rhino. You're like riding the back of a rhino at your San Andreas. But then I suppose what was the we've often said that like the kind of games that we play, and if anyone has listened to any of our episodes before, they tend to be story based, they tend to be very character based, single player experiences, right? Like this game is very different to the games that we would normally kind of cite.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the draw, or what made anyone want this game or want to play it out of us? We
For
can't
me,
speak
it
for
was I suppose it was the right game to come out at my age. So it was a time when I was into skateboarding. It was a time when I was getting into like the nu metal era of music. Right now, I know there's no nu metal in this, but there is metal. There is that 90s era of metal that would have inspired, the bands of the early 2000s and stuff. And having that as well as it's the skateboarding thing. Like, I mean, the thing is with nu metal, when I was listening to it at the time, was there was no division between people who were listening to hip hop and people listening to metal, right? the metal guys were wearing baggy pants and basketball t-shirts and caps backwards and stuff like that. So playing San Andreas, the kind of characters you get to play as and just the overall, I suppose, the fashion and design and everything in it felt very much like what I was going through at that time. So even the other radio stations, like, so you could listen to metal on Radio X or rock on Radio X, or you could listen to like the rap on the other like hip hop stations and stuff like that. And it just didn't feel weird because that was the type of music I was kind of getting into at the time anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it was just the right game at the right time for me. And it's probably why I gravitated towards this over something like Vice City. Whereas with GTA 3 and Vice City, they're good games and all, and the mechanics are good, but I just didn't connect with that world, those characters, that style, as much as I did with San Andreas.
How about you, Eric?
I was young and I got to mess around in it. And I had cheat codes, and I could just type in a cheat code and get a shotgun, walk into a police station, and have a jolly old time.
So you were more into like the manic chaos of it?
Yeah, well, again, I was very young, and like in fairness, when we talk about that, we love story-based games. Well, like again, when I was young, I loved playing something like Metal Gear Solid, but I always skipped the cutscenes in that game. So when it came to San Andreas, it was like, when I was young, I wanted to play the game. I didn't want to listen to people talk for an hour. So for San Andreas, it was I could just play, and I didn't have to put up with anyone talking. And then I just get a car, drive around. I could get fat if I wanted to. Yeah.
And how did you find riding a bike?
Well, that's a topic for another day. I don't like riding bikes. I think they're garbage.
It's the first mission you have to do in the game, isn't it? Is ride a bike?
Yeah, I didn't get past it. Good thing Adam.
How did you do anything else though?
I played Adam's file.
Oh yeah, right. You just go into his save file.
I was young. I didn't start new games. I played your files.
To be honest, he was probably like 6, maybe. What age were you?
Way too young to experience it, to be honest.
Again, I just typed a cheat code. I got a chainsaw and say goodbye to your wallets.
Oh god. I think for me, like I had played Vice City first, and I mean I thought it was a very fun game to play. So my first thinking was San Andreas is another one of those. I kind of always wanted Vice City. We didn't have it obviously, but there was always like days where I was like, oh, I really want to play that game where I get to drive around. I don't think I even realized it was called Grand Theft Auto at the time. Like I think it was that out of the loop. So when we had San Andreas, I was just like, oh, that's like that game that I remember playing. Like, and I didn't even really make the connection until much later. But I remember seeing it advertised, and that was one of the big draws for me. They advertised it with Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle playing on the trailer, right? And it was cut really well together, and there was explosions and stuff in the trailer. It was like high action and police cars chasing and everything. And I was like, that looks great. I don't know what it is, but it looks great. And then it was like hugely hyped, like you saw it everywhere, and everyone was getting it, and everyone was playing it. It was just I really do. I feel like it was like in the last episode, I couldn't help but say Resident Evil 4 was like the Last of Us of the PS2 era. I think San Andreas was the Skyrim of the PS2 era. I think it was the big open world experience that everyone got, and you kind of had to have it. And then it didn't matter whether you played the story or not, or even gave a shit about that. Like, there was so much stuff to do in this game. And that's another thing. There is so much stuff you can do in this game.
Yeah, and like it's not overwhelming either, which is weird. Because there's a lot of games now that I feel like they're big open worlds. There's a lot of mechanics in them where I'm just like, it's almost too much to learn. Yeah. You know, and if you drop out and come back into it, those type of smaller, almost like mini games within these larger games, you kind of forget about them and you forget the mechanics of it and stuff like that, which can like affect your player progression. Whereas in San Andreas, like there's a lot to do in it, but it's so simplified. I think if you run around for ages, your energy goes down. so you got to go eat. Well, we've experienced that in Snake Eater and stuff, so it's not like we haven't done that type of thing before. And then if you eat too much, you become big, so you have to like exercise to get rid of that. Like it's really, really simple. You could leave the game for a whole year and come back and be able to jump into that mechanic
I
again.
think another thing that Rockstar does really well is that they slowly integrate all of these mini games one after another so that you can just experience that. While I find a lot of games nowadays kind of go, oh, here's an open world, you can do everything straight away. And you're like, okay, I am overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start with this.
Yeah.
But at least Rockstar knows how to ease you into it so that when you get to a certain point, you know everything and you know how to do it.
The other thing is, you made a good point there, Eric. And as well,
Thank you.
I think, no problem, Eric. But I think as well, now, if you'll listen to me, we could talk like one of those radio shows in the GTA games. But I think they're so good. Sorry,
Yeah.
they're so good as well. We get to some of that stuff, but I think as well, like you can do everything straight away. Like you could just ignore, but what they'll also do is they'll give you little missions, and the missions will slowly teach you how to play all the different mini games and how to do all the stuff. So it's like if you're familiar with maybe the GTA formula, you can go, whatever, I'm gonna go off and do exactly what I know how to do. But if you're new to it, it's still gonna slowly integrate you into the world, and this is how this stuff works.
Mhm.
So it's I think the game is very player friendly. The only thing is your life bar goes down so quickly. Jesus.
Yeah, well, it's like, I mean,
real life, Chris.
Huh?
Yeah, well, that's life, Chris. Get used to it.
you're trying to avoid
Getting shot.
combat at an early point. But what I really love is there is kind of almost fetch quest style missions at the beginning.
There is, yeah.
And they work in San Andreas. Like most of the quests you do, even if it's like the newest one, GTA 5, like very similar quests at the beginning where you're just doing like, I just need to drive you here, and then we go
pick
back
up my
and
girlfriend.
bring her on shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, it works in GTA because it's just a satire. The whole thing's a satire. It's like your tasks are so mundane, and it's such a big deal to other people. It's like, oh, we need to prove to these guys over and around the corner, and you just need to go do some graffiti and stuff like that, right?
That's
like
right.
To these guys, that's a big deal. That's like putting their mark on the world, man. And it's like when you as the player, you're just like, this is ridiculous.
No, that's actually one of the things that I quite liked about. Not to go off topic, I've been playing GTA 5 recently, and just because you mentioned it there's a character, Franklin. And the guys he's hanging out with they're guys from the Grove. They're the same gang from San Andreas. And they still hate the Ballas, which are the purple gang, right? In San Andreas. They still hate them. Even though this is like 20 years later, like that's still going on. And they're still doing that stupid shit of graffitiing and doing little drug deals and doing drive-bys, right? That's their thing. Or kidnapping someone and saying, give us your money and we'll let you go. Because he wears purple, right? And Franklin is the one who's going, like, guys, we gotta get out of this shit. Like, this is stupid. Like, what are we doing here? Like, we'll never leave the Grove if we keep doing this shit, And that's why he's trying to do all these big heists and all, and become like a big gangster. But it is so funny that like this is the shit that they care about. And there's even like this big thing about like those guys disrespect us by wearing the wrong colors. One of your missions even is to go and buy something green.
Yep.
To wear early on.
Which is great because that just teaches you how to shopping mechanics and how
like
to
we were
customize
saying,
your character.
So it slowly integrates or they tell you to go get a haircut.
Yeah.
And that's where you learn you can also grow a beard.
Grow an afro. Yeah.
They can stick more hair on.
Don't ask where to get it from, but
like pick up all the loose hairs off the ground and start gluing them onto your face. We just have to color match.
You start looking like Gary from Team America.
You look just like one of them.
That is the finest actor.
That's so yeah. I think as well one of the other big appeals of the game is that it's an RPG.
Yeah.
And it's not what you would typically think an RPG is.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have the the Dungeons and Dragons kind of stats kind of thing. I think RPGs now obviously are so inspired off of Dungeons and Dragons that it almost has to have stats
Hmm.
like in its combat in order to classify as an RPG technically. But like as an open world game where you take on the role of a character, yeah, I would classify as an RPG, but just not in the like the way it deals with combat and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Eric? Do you think it could be classed as an RPG?
I mean, yeah, suppose.
Okay.
Like,
Cool.
I mean,
Cool, bro, thanks.
yeah, like
Well, there.
like Adam said, you are taking on a role, you are playing it, and it's a game. So it's an RPG. It's
That's
a
not
role
enough,
playing
though, to
game.
be an RPG, is it?
Huh?
Ah,
That's
sure.
not an RPG though, because that's every game.
Yeah, exactly. Every game RPG. Class.
Oh, that's
I
that's
would,
not
yeah, maybe I think maybe it would classify more as like a gangster simulator,
right.
more so
Okay.
than RPG maybe. Like it does have simulation qualities. Like I said, RPG tends to have like stats. Now I know you can like
You've got stamina stats, right? Your
yeah,
health
there are
bar goes
stats
up
that you
over
can like
time, and your
increase and stuff like that, but it seems to
Yeah.
be more like it's not class based. You know, way like you would have in a lot of RPGs you'd have a class that would have certain stats that you would play
Right.
to that advantage.
yes.
Whereas this one is a bit more like a simulator, much like something like The Sims would be, where your characters still have individual stats, but it's based within the rules of the simulation. So it would probably be more. It's kind of a blend of the two, really. It's like if you took a simulator and an RPG, smashed two together.
American.
But it's probably the pioneer of like open world games. I don't think we'd have the type of open world games we have today if it wasn't for San Andreas.
Oh, yeah.
Like yeah, the ones before it and stuff, but with this one, like Jesus, like GTA 4 felt like a step backward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Because I agree
Yeah.
with you, and
Yeah.
I just heard Eric agrees with you too. He said yeah, but like, cause okay, the graphics of GTA 4 are obviously better.
Yeah, and the physics are better.
The
Yeah.
physics are better. The combat is better. Like it's more of a
Yeah.
cover shooter. Like it does play better when you're fighting. It's got more options in terms of like you can watch TV. There's full TV shows you can sit down and watch. There's mobile phones you can use. It's like there's a lot of extra stuff. But isn't it weird that it feels like a step backwards?
Yeah. It
There-
feels smaller.
Yeah, it
There's
does.
less in it you can do compared to San
Is there?
Andreas.
Yeah, well
I don't
you
think
can't
there is.
you can't do aviation, for example.
Really?
You can't fly.
GTA 4.
Yeah, you can.
Um,
Surely
you?
you can. I think you can fly in all of them except
no
for
planes
the
in
very
in-
early ones.
Oh no, there's no planes. No, but there is a helicopter.
Yeah, there's a helicopter. There's no
Yeah,
planes.
there's no planes. Sorry. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I get
There
you.
isn't. I don't think the islands are certainly not as big. Definitely not as big. There isn't that whole, the change in your physique, getting fat, getting muscly, getting skinny.
Right. Customizing your character as much.
I don't know. Is swimming even in for? I can't remember.
I'd imagine.
I
can.
think you can still swim in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't have any haircuts.
Yeah. There's in terms of character customization and stuff, there's not a whole lot.
It's weird that they would leave that stuff
types
out.
of-
No.
Less types of vehicles because you're in just a city. While
Yeah.
with San Andreas, you have city and countryside, so you have a lot of variety of vehicles and stuff.
That's true. Yeah. And nearly more interesting environments as well in San Andreas.
Yeah.
Like I used to love. I think my favorite thing, in San Andreas, I used to do just a lot of fucking around with it really. But my favorite thing ever to do was to drive out to like the mountains,
Yeah.
get up to the top of a mountain, get a parachute, drive on a motorbike off the mountain.
Yeah.
Open the parachute, and just
Do it again.
slowly come in. Yeah, and do it all again. I used to love doing that. Another thing I used
The
to love.
Sanchez was just such a cool bike.
Yes.
Such
So
a cool
good.
bike.
I used to love doing that, and the other thing I used to love, but the other so that's a nice sightseeing thing. That's good. The other thing I used to like doing was not good and not proud. I used to use a cheat code to get all the weapons, and I used to go into one of the burger joints or the clothes stores. I had to be one or the other with the flamethrower. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I burnt the whole place down. The police would come after me, and then I'd try to put up a fight with the police, die, do it all again. I don't like. I was like, okay, let's see how long I last. It was like challenging the police.
Well, it's better that than a real school or a real burger joint.
I never even mentioned a school. That's not what I was going for. What is wrong with you?
Well, it's just because like this is one of those games that was certainly blamed for real life crime,
That's a good
especially
point.
within younger teenagers and stuff like that. And it's just when you look at statistically, obviously, the amount of people that would have played it, especially at, like, I mean, like I said, Eric was essentially a baby when he played this. You know,
Eric, have you ever committed a crime?
and he's
I mean,
totally fine.
I was saying that I used a chainsaw and I took people's money, in short.
In the game,
chains-
in the game, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I just said, have you ever committed a crime? And you followed up straight away. I told you, I took chainsaws and
Oh, I thought you just meant in the
verify.
game. I thought you meant in the game have I committed crimes then.
Of course you did in the game. You can't play the game without committing crimes. That's the whole object of the game.
Yeah,
Sure.
but it's just
Anyway.
it like in an odd way, like the argument would be this game teaches violence, but in an odd way, it actually teaches you the well, like almost the complete opposite to that. It teaches like you start to understand the negative that comes from extreme violence.
Right, yeah.
Because when you do the activities, you understand like, okay, well, that character in it now is gone, it's dead, or this happens, or there's whatever. Like you understand the weight of it when you play it, so you obviously know like this is totally
Also,
wrong.
We can blame let's say the game for teaching kids. Let's say hypothetically it did teach kids
Right.
to commit violence. You can do that, or you can blame the people who bought the game for the kids that it's not meant for.
Yeah, there's
Well,
that.
well, like I just think that this is it's as harmful as like I mean there was cartoons like I went back to watch some of the cartoons that I watched when I was younger. I'm like, man, these were heavy going.
And
like
not as heavy
Bambi,
as San Andreas. Will you stop? Stop.
Bambi,
Bambi's not like shooting up burger joints and doing drive-bys with his
no,
dear
but
friends.
I blame
like.
Bambi for your activities in that game, Chris.
I mean, look, you've touched on a very good point, which is that this game and the GTA series as a whole is definitely controversial.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, but it's
controversial for a number of reasons.
It was controversial.
Do you not think it is anymore?
No, not at all. It's
Isn't that
actually
strange?
glorified now as like it now has the recognition it deserves, and it's just like Call of Duty now. It's just a normal thing for every kid to play. I consider Grand Theft Auto to be like the Marilyn Manson of the fucking video game industry. It's like at a point it's like it's public enemy number one and you want to get rid of it, but then it
Right.
just gets to a point where it's like, yeah,
That's
fine.
grand. It's grand. We've got bigger fish to fry now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, what would be like the controversial game now? I don't know. The bar always gets raised, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Like,
wasn't
Or-
microtransactions the enemy at one point?
That
Anything
should
by
be.
EA.
That
Battlefront.
yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Stop taking our money. They are like the gangsters from GTA. No, I'm
Yeah.
joking. I've totally lost topic. We're just literally.
Well, you were
going
just
from
saying
one
about like
point to
the
another
weird
point.
activity that you were doing, which was the burger joint thing.
Oh yeah, that's the
Um,
weird shit.
I myself
that's what I
used to-
enjoy doing.
Hijack combine harvesters.
Oh yeah.
And when you roll over people in them, like the bit where the
That's messed up.
crops come through,
Right, yeah. They used to like
just
flop out.
all
to
you
the
just
side.
see is just blood and guts
Oh
and
my
stuff come
God.
through that. Yeah,
That's so disturbing.
good crack.
I
But,
mean, we also actually, when we're talking about violence, we also played like Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah.
So
That's another one of the
Yeah.
games that gets put up there with GTA and
we had a
Well,
very
okay.
like
Ah, yeah, but it's comic-
colorful. We had a
it's not
very
even
colorful
realistic.
colorful.
that's the thing.
childhood.
Yeah, I think once if you can see it for what it is, like GTA is really satirical. Like we said before, like there's an element of it that it's a comedy.
Yeah.
As well as, there's some serious shit in there, but like the radio stations are all played for laughs. There's so many things that they're literally making fun of, whether it's modern music or TV shows, get like just TV, and like the average TV consumer gets pointed fun at like a lot. Just people who vote. The games are so. Is Rockstar an American studio?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, like, because it pokes so much fun at Americans, like it's so, like, it's quite mean sometimes.
Well, who better to do
But it
it
is funny,
than
like.
if
Oh
they
yeah,
are
yeah.
American,
No, that's
who
what I was
better to do it
wondering,
than?
because I thought maybe I thought Rockstar North was English, but I could be wrong, and I think they're
I don't think so. No.
no. Okay.
No. I think it's all US based. I don't know where though. I can't remember.
No, I haven't a clue. I actually don't know. I never looked into it. Um, is San Andreas the location itself? I suppose, like, because this is one of the. I mean, it's called San Andreas, and I feel like the place itself is a character.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like San Andreas as a location, or did you prefer Vice City? Or
Well, I didn't
like-
explore enough of the other ones
Yeah.
really.
all right,
Tree, I did. I played a lot of Tree, which is Liberty City. It's definitely like I much prefer San Andreas over Liberty City. And I think, like what you said, like the nice thing about San Andreas is you can start off in the hood. It's got that like real urban environment that's a bit kind of run down and stuff.
Yeah.
Then you can go to the complete countryside, which is hillbilly territory, like completely different.
yeah,
And then you can go to Las Venturas, which is the Vegas, and it's like this is where you're gonna make the big bucks kind of thing. There's a desert area where there's like an Area 51. Like it's got everything really.
yeah.
Like
It's
there's
so
the
mixed.
Hoover Dam kind of location as well. So there's just it really feels like every island you go to in different parts of the islands, every corner of the island just feels like a new world.
Yeah,
Much like what we would get out of something like the Elder Scrolls games.
yeah,
Every time you go to a different part of the like corner of the map, it just feels like a brand new location. Whereas I don't really get that from Liberty City. I haven't played enough Vice City.
yeah. How about you, Eric?
I mean, yeah, like again, the only thing I really remember about Vice City is that it feels like Miami. It's got like the palm trees and everyone's got those flowery, colorful shirts and stuff. But I only played more of San Andreas and Liberty City. Liberty City is a grey, dull.
Yeah.
Reminds me why I don't like cities. Like it's like this is bleak and boring, and every street looks the same, and I might as well just go anywhere else because this place is just life draining. But San Andreas is so full of life and color
Yeah,
that like when you're on like the chopper motorbike or something, just driving down the road, letting the breeze go through your lack of hair because you got a haircut and you got the sun rays. It's great. Like, I mean, you feel more alive exploring San Andreas and I'd say like Vice City is probably a nice blend of the two, but again, I haven't explored enough of that to know.
Yeah.
But San Andreas is more.
I think as well. What's appealing about San Andreas is they made it feel like a lived-in place. It's incredible the amount of like you will see some of like the same NPCs recycled, obviously, but it's just amazing how many there are, and they're all doing like people are literally driving about their day.
Yeah.
And some people are literally working, and and you can go in and totally interrupt their day, or sometimes missions will be involved with different people who have their own routines, and it's just nuts how many people there actually are in the map, and how many locations there are, and how big the fucking world is. It's crazy. They just made San Andreas feel like an actual place that you get to go to. That's like really real, I feel. Which is awesome. I think we should definitely touch on. I know that we didn't. Well, I don't know if we all didn't actually. But the story.
Yeah.
We should at least touch on it, even if it's just the setting or the time period or whatever. What do we think about the story that San Andreas has?
I think it's a very necessary story to touch on that still is a prevalent problem, which is ridiculous.
Okay. I don't know which aspect you mean.
The-
There's a
the-
lot in it. There's a lot
like
in
the
it.
the racism and the kind of corrupt police force and the kind of like abuse that certain
Okay.
ethnicities would still have have to deal with, like. So I think
Rampart police scandal, which is
yeah,
one of the
like
of the 90s, which is one of the big things it's based on.
Mm.
Actually, hold on. Amazing that they got Samuel L. Jackson to play Officer Tenpenny. Is that his name?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like that's Samuel L. Jackson in a GTA game. What's going on? But yeah, no, I love that whole story aspect of the corrupt police and that they touched on that. And I think San Andreas felt very much like movies of that time period as well. That we're watching like a Training Day.
Mhm.
There's a big Training Day vibe in there. And loads of others where it's like, or even like the Fast and the Furious. These kind of like when if you play Vice City and GTA 3 and all those, they were all kind of like mafia gangsters.
Yeah.
Which were of a certain time period, but they were kind of like when we were younger, that had kind of gone. That wasn't really what the modern gangster was anymore.
Yeah.
And San Andreas touched on, even though it was set in the 90s, it touched on a more modern. It's like I actually recognize that. I've seen this in movies. This is like an era that I kind of recognize in my life. What do you think, Adam?
I definitely cleared the game,
Did you?
but I have absolutely no recollection of doing that.
Oh.
Like I can't remember any.
Tell
of
us what
the
happens, man. Because I never cleared the story.
I
I
can't
played
remember
some
any of the story beats. You see.
S-
But I do
small gra-
remember. Like
your
one
buddy-
of the final missions is you have to actually steal a Harrier, or the jet, let's say, from the
Right.
aircraft carrier, and it's like at that point that's when the feds come after you. But yeah, I really can't remember any of the actual story beats. It's one of those games where you just kind of you just running through. It's like I just need to get to the next mission, next mission, next mission, next mission, and you just kind of like progress and stuff. Because a lot, like I said, a lot of the tasks are pretty silly, like going in to steal a hi-fi system and then driving down to a beach just to play the music. It's a bit weird, like.
Yeah. But as well, yeah, it's nearly like the missions are literally just like if you're looking for something to do, if you can't occupy yourself, we'll give you a task.
Yeah.
But realistically,
As to
you
get
can
more
do
money,
what
so
you
you can, soup up your lowrider.
Yeah. But as well, actually, because
That's another thing I was missing from 4, I think.
What's that? A
Car
lowrider?
customization.
Here comes it. Was it?
I can't
I don't know.
remember
4
it
at
being
all.
in 4.
Yeah, I don't think it was in 4, but like, yeah, the amount of customization, like you had Need for Speed in this game essentially.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. And that was a
Yeah.
great game too. If you're into racing, that was real, unreal. But what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. I keep going off track.
Oh, and if you put the cheat codes in,
Yeah.
It eventually corrupts the hell out of your save file, and you have to start the game again.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That
Oh,
has
that's-
definitely happened a
That's-
few
Well,
times.
I obviously never typed in enough cheat. Oh, maybe I typed in too many, and then you just got the blunt of it.
Yeah.
All coming out now. Confessions with the Maguire brothers. That's what I was gonna say. I actually I got San Andreas for the PS4 not that long ago. It's actually what made me go, you know what, I should play GTA 5. I don't know why I put it off. Everyone said it was great. And you get to come back here supposedly, so I'll give it a go. But yeah, just when you were saying like, you're going from mission to mission and you don't even really know what you're doing or why you're doing it. I got that feeling very early on. I was playing it, and I was like, I don't know what these guys are talking about. Like, I actually don't know what the lingo that, because like they actually have like ways of saying stuff, and I don't know what it means. Like, I don't know what they're talking about. And then suddenly I'm beating up a crack dealer, and I was like, I don't know why. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he's a crazy cat apparently. I don't know what they're talking about. So it's the writing is very funny, but as well, it's like very much a product of its time as well. It's like, I don't know if anyone really talks like that anymore. I think that's very much a thing of the 90s, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of like that, like there's a British type of slang where they
Yeah.
use code words, right? Like, give me all your wing wangs and your brown bread means give me your money or something like that, right? Like, it's like, like unless you know what it means, you're not gonna have a fucking clue what someone's talking about. So it's like that. Like, they have this lingo, and no one at any point fills you in on what any of it means. And then suddenly you're doing a mission, and you're just like, I don't know, but it's fun. I'm enjoying myself. So there we go.
And a lot of the dialogue as well, and it's with every Rockstar game. It's as you're driving to the location to do whatever. It's the dialogue in the car that's some of the most entertaining.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
I can't really remember specific ones from San Andreas. I just know that like sometimes it's really difficult to concentrate though because you're trying to concentrate on the road.
Yeah, and then sometimes they're saying something that you think is so funny, and as well, you're trying to look at like the little mini map that has like a waypoint, and then you're looking at the road, and then you're looking at the map, and you're looking at the road, and you're going, I am learning how to drive.
And then what's her face says something really funny on the radio, so that just turns you off again. What's her name again?
Oh, I can't remember. Allison, is it? I feel like it's Allison.
Can't remember.
No.
No. I think it's like a weird like code name kind of a thing.
Did you ever try another radio station, or did you always just change?
Yeah. I liked there was well, it was mostly just Radio X all the time.
Oh, it's Radio X in that one, is it? It's Channel X in.
Yes, Channel X and no, it's Radio X in San Andreas.
Radio X, yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. I think it's like KD something or other. There was a talk.
Oh, it was another kind of.
It was just a talk show one. That one's hilarious. I used to put that one on a few times. Yeah, there's no music on that. That's just interviews and stuff. Yeah. And there's always people debating about like, why crime is going up, and it's like that just shows you like the real, like what Eric was saying, like the kind of racist kind of ideologies that they're exploring and really taking the piss out of in that. So that one's fun.
Yeah. I just love listening to like the little ads that they make. They sound like real. Yeah. They sound like real ads like that you might hear, but then if you actually listen to what they're saying, you're like, what?
Yeah, like or even what's the Piss Fosser?
Piss Fosser is the name of one of their beers.
Yeah.
That has carried on into the series.
And
I saw that.
I think that's in all of them. And there's like a billboard, and the billboard advertisement is like this one squatting over a bottle of beer, but she's in like real skimpy gear.
It's just
I really love the nihilism in the like when every time you go into the Clucking Bell and it's just that guy behind the counter.
Yeah. Have a Clucking day.
Yeah. He's just like hates his life.
Yeah. He has to wear the chicken hat, right? And he's like, here's another one, sir. And he's like going through. He has like acne on his face and everything.
Because we've all dealt with that kind of service.
Like I hate this.
Yeah.
I find it so funny that you can just like eat so much food, get really fat, and then just go to the gym and just literally get rid of it straight away. Like,
yeah,
the whole game is just ridiculous. In terms of the actual story of the game, what did we think of CJ as our main character, or at least the situation that CJ is in?
Yeah.
Or do we remember? Do we remember him?
I think you explained it to me recently. Is it that CJ wants to leave that life of crime? But
he's so into it. He's so into it.
He comes home and he's a brilliant character, actually. I'm not even gonna guess what the story is about. He's a brilliant character.
Why? Wait. Why?
Why am I not
going to guess what it's about? He's brilliant. It's like, end of.
Comes home, his mother is dead, isn't it? That's how it starts. Yeah, he leaves prison and his mother is dead, and then he's wanting to essentially find out why.
And he goes to meet his brother at the graveyard, and there's loads of graves, and it's all people from their neighborhood that have all been like killed in drive-bys and stuff and gang crime. So they're trying to get back at and take back their territory. Then it's sort of the overall thing. Yeah, he has this moment at the start of the game that's like he actually like looks around at the empty house and all the pictures of his mom, and he kind of freaks out, and you're like, wow, this is gonna have a lot of development, and then that's it. After that, it's just
Like I do think he's
being
a
and going
pretty.
crazy.
I think he's a pretty blank slate, and
He is really.
you
Yeah.
you could, he could be anyone really. I think San Andreas. It's more the characters around you. Like he has a little bit of an attitude, like his own personal attitude, but it's it's pretty blank. I'm trying to think of another game that's fairly similar to it.
Do you think that's on purpose?
I'd say so.
I would say so. Yeah, I'd say it's just to kind of so you as the player can kind of have interactions and reflect by things that are being said to him. He's like John Marston, actually. That's what I would kind of compare it to. I think John Marston's a much better character though, but in many ways, John Marston doesn't really have much of an opinion about what's going on around him. Like he's very neutral. He's just like, yeah, whatever you say, man, right? Like he just totally goes along with things.
Goes along with everything.
CJ's a little bit like that, and I think like you do see that type of character. I think GTA 4 is the first time they kind of really broke away from that style of character in writing.
Yeah, they tried to give like a full character arc, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But Nico, was that his name? Nico?
Nico Bellic. Is it Bellic?
Bellic, yeah, Nico Bellic.
I couldn't get into his character actually.
It's supposed to be really, really
was.
good. I don't mind the character. It's the game I don't like. I just couldn't get into the game. But his character arc is supposed to be really, really good.
He has some of the best. We're going off topic from San Andreas, but he has some of the best moments with I can't remember the character, but it's like he's like a Jamaican kind of gangster, and he has like a Jamaican twang to his voice, but it's really strong. So Nico, who like is like, it's again one of those moments, like in San Andreas where they're talking to you, but they're speaking in their own kind of like
you can't understand them at all.
Yeah, so like you are on board with Nico, and Nico is just, his facial expression is brilliant because he's like, I don't know, sure, cool, I don't know what you're saying. Oh, we're going? Oh, okay, we're going to drive, right? I don't know what we're doing, right? And then so those moments are actually really enjoyable.
He kind of keeps getting dragged into crimes nearly more than anything, doesn't he? Like he has no intention of coming over to be a criminal, and then before he knows that he's like most wanted.
Nico's a person who's trying to get completely away from that lifestyle, but it's almost as if he's always being drawn to it, and he can't get away from it.
And then I suppose in contrast,
the only way he can make money.
In contrast, CJ then is the type of character who's trying to come up in that world to like gain back sort of a family honor, I feel, is kind of the thing, because like he's with his brother, and his brother's sweet, remember, he's part of the gang as well, and there's a whole thing of like, because like Grove, I suppose it's more than just like a neighborhood. They seem to be, it's like a familia thing,
Mm-hmm.
And they very much want to, it's like ever since you've been in prison, this place has gone to shit, so it's like, okay, well now I want to, bring it back to its former glory, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though no one would consider that glory, but like, being gangsters, but they obviously do. So, but then I suppose as well, there's an interesting thing where they put CJ in a situation, because like it's an awkward thing, I think, to put a player into the shoes of the villain and not reflect on the fact that what you're doing is terrible. Do you know what I mean? And like in the GTA games, you are a villain.
Yeah.
But they have to try and find a way for you to empathize or sympathize with your character as well. And how they do that is, in this particular game and in this particular world, the police.
Yeah, they're a hell of a lot worse.
Are worse in this case, yeah. So it's not now. I don't think the game is trying to make a comment on police in general, but it is referring to real life cases that happened in the 90s.
Yeah,
which was the LAPD, I think. There was something like 20. I think I actually read into it. There was something like 24 police officers that were like running this huge, like drug operation, and they were like, arresting people and then making people do things for them, and basically gangs were working for the police, and it was nuts. Like, and that's what this game is actually like based on that whole the Rampart. I think it's called the Rampart police scandal. But yeah, so it's interesting as like for CJ as a character, he has like there is no alternative. It's like if I stay put and do nothing, the other gang are gonna kill me just because they're driving into the neighborhood and they're shooting people.
Yeah.
If I go to the police, they're corrupt as shit. And actually, I think it turns out that the Officer Tenpenny is the one that got his mother killed.
Yeah.
In the end, right? So they're just as bad, if not worse. So it's like my only option. It's like I've been dealt really bad cards. Like so, I just think it's interesting, like because it's hard to get behind a. I'm playing 5 at the moment, and there's 3 characters in it that you play as, and 2 of them I can get behind. A little bit, not totally, obviously, but a little bit. I like Franklin a lot.
Franklin a lot. Franklin's my favorite because he is kind of reminiscent of CJ.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, I think, is supposed to be kind of like the guy from Vice City. I think he's supposed to be that kind of an era of Grand Theft Auto character, or GTA 3 even. You know, the kind of Italian American background type thing. Trevor, Jesus Christ, he's just an asshole.
He's rough. He's pretty bad.
He's so bad. And like with Michael, you're like, oh, yeah, he's a bad man too, but he's got a therapist, and you know he's trying. He's making some sort of it.
I honestly,
maybe
I think Michael's family is worse than him.
They're pretty bad.
They're awful people.
Yeah, but then, you know, he did raise the kids, like, or maybe not raise the kids, and she is only with him for the money. So from the get go, they are all bad. You know, he's bad too. Like, it's a bad family. It's not good.
No.
But I do think it's funny that his therapist looks like the guy from Analyze This. Like, I was like, this is very, very on purpose.
Yeah.
Just for playing San Andreas and fucking around back in the day, did you have a favorite song in it that you used to do whenever it came on? That was like the one you loved when you were driving.
I have to double check the name of this song.
But I don't remember all of them.
I remember a song, just can't like it because it got me into other music very similar. Now I can't remember whether or not it was in the game or whether it was something I listened to afterwards.
Okay.
So I just
yeah.
double check.
One song I enjoyed listening to, mainly because you absolutely hated the song, Chris, was Horse with No Name.
That's an amazing song.
I hated it.
Oh, at the time,
sure?
At the time, you did. Well, hate was probably a strong word, but at the time, you didn't like that song. But me and Adam were like, yeah, awesome.
What did you not like about it?
I think you found it really boring.
Jeez, I don't.
I don't
remember that.
It wasn't exactly like Welcome to the Jungle or anything like that. That was more.
That was on the other radio station, the KDS.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember hating Horse with No Name, because actually I thought I was going to say I think Horse with No Name is the one that I like the most, because it just stuck in my head. I remembered so much, but maybe it is. Maybe like every time it came on, I was like, oh, here we go again. I love that song now, though. I think another one that to me is Personal Jesus.
That's a good one, actually.
That's
at the time, I loved Personal Jesus. That's Depeche Mode.
Also, everything off of Radio X was amazing.
Yeah.
Jesus. Just looking at the list now.
On there, and
oh my god.
There's another really good one that stood out to me a lot. There's like Helmet is on it, and Soundgarden is on it, and
yeah,
so much on it.
I would find it really difficult to pick.
Hellraiser
was great. I would probably go with Midlife Crisis. I think every time that came on.
Yeah.
And that like out of like all the songs on it, like that's the most kind of almost new metal-y style. Like, although that's not a new metal song, but you can totally see where new metal like eventually came around after hearing something like by Fate No More.
Yeah. I don't think the other games have had as strong a soundtrack.
Definitely
I suppose it depends on your own music tastes, but in my own opinion, definitely not. Like, I just think,
considering we're all into like rock and heavy metal, new metal, and all that, I think GTA 5 is even quite lacking in some of its.
Oh, it's rock
One of the
radio
songs.
is shit. I always listen to the like they have kind of like an 80s or um like rock ballad anthem one. So
Yeah.
there's like a song by Genesis on there, and there's a Queen song, and I end up listening to that because I was like, yeah, it suits the palm trees and the vibe here. But their actual rock radio is like just all these punk songs, but not good ones. Like it's like this is weird. This doesn't fit in with it at all. And also, I don't recognize any of these songs. Surely there should be at least one in here that like people actually know.
And I think with GTA 4, I kept the radio off.
Oh, really?
That's how much I did.
There's
not
only
like the song.
I always heard the
one.
radio was good in that one. No, the
There's only
actual
one
talk
song I
show.
remember off of GTA 4.
What was that one?
I think it's a Genesis song. I think it's called Mama. I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
But apart from that, nothing stood out to me in 4. No, like San Andreas just had like even the other stations were good. Like when you've gotten which
Yeah.
I never ever got sick of Radio X. Like I just play that on bloody repeat. It's amazing. But even some of the other radio stations were actually okay.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like you wouldn't be in a hurry to change station necessarily. Like even though Radio X was always my favorite. Yeah, the other music was just as good and fit in with the vibes as well. I like when you're doing story missions, they'll have like specific vehicles will have a specific radio station on and a specific song on at that time because it actually suits what you're just about to do.
Yeah.
Like we get into Big Smoke's car, there's often like like Biggie Smalls kind of rapping stuff on it, and cause he kind of looks like him, doesn't he? He kind of does. He's that big kind of. And I think it's because some of them are based on specific people. And there was a lot of rappers asked to play the characters in the game, and Sweet, your brother, is based on Ice Cube, I think.
Oh really?
I think he is. I think he's based on Ice Cube. I could be wrong, but yeah, there was supposed to, like they kind of wanted the the main 4 guys that are always hanging out. I think they wanted them to be kind of like NWA kind of a thing, like that's the vibe I think they were going for with that gang, like a group of rappers taking on the world. Is GTA San Andreas the best GTA in the series?
It's really hard to tell that though, isn't it?
Like that you've played, I suppose.
For what I've
The hard
played,
part, it's like,
absolutely.
like,
I mean, I've only
Um,
ever cleared one of the
Which one did you
GTA
clear?
games. I cleared 5. It's the only one I cleared.
oh, did you?
Yeah.
When did you even play that?
Why you play that?
Back in the day, like, I got a loan off of a friend, played it and cleared it. It's class.
So which one would you prefer then? Because I mean, clearing it doesn't have to be everything. I think with GTA, it's not necessarily about finishing the story mode. It's just about.
I definitely have fonder memories of San Andreas playing that.
Okay.
Even though, again, I couldn't get past the first mission, like, but I definitely have fonder memories of it. It's a really weird statement, isn't it? I have fonder memories playing the
I never
game.
played
I couldn't
the game,
even get
but
into
man,
it.
I got some fond memories. I got way fonder memories of that game I never played than the game I did. That tells you something about the game I played and finished.
But even like
No, I was
outside of the game, like the case, the booklet, the artwork,
The artwork is great.
absolutely everything to do with this game, I think was just stunning. Like if you look at the artwork now, obviously the artwork is very similar for all of them, but there is like there's a signature like color palette per game as well. And I think there's just something about San Andreas one when you look at the cover, they really captured something magical with it.
Well, it's
And
like
the same when
graffiti
you're going through
artwork,
the
nearly,
booklet.
isn't it? It's like street murals.
Yeah, but they like the color tone, like even like your wallpaper now behind you, like that color tone, that sunset kind of warm, like that's just throughout the game as well.
Yeah.
And it really works as well because it has that like I've never been to San Francisco, but I know that when at certain times in the day there is like a kind of a fog because of the humidity.
Oh yeah.
So you do get that
Seen
kind
the
of
pictures.
the way the sun hits through that fog, it creates that kind of like you can't really see very far, and that just plays to their advantage with the being on the PS2, the withdraw distance and stuff. You can't really see things in the distance, you just see kind of like an outline. So that really, really worked well for them. And the cars in it are like they're all really really unique and stunning. It's the first game I can recall, even against like driving games as well. It's the first game I remember when you're driving really fast down the highway, you get that kind of blur effect as you're driving really really fast. Like it
Yeah,
gives you the sense of speed
yeah,
that I didn't get in any other game at the time.
yeah. You could feel it.
Yeah, I just think like everything in that game to me was just like a wow, and I can't wait to see what newer games are going to bring. Not necessarily new GTA games, but other games. What can they do?
Yeah.
Like learn from this, like whether it was the swimming, the working out, the eating, the like everything in it. I was just wowed by.
And it's like you said, it's a very full package, isn't it? It's a very complete. It doesn't feel in any way like disjointed or like something doesn't feel right. Like I suppose that was one of the things with me for GTA 4 how I couldn't get into it was I felt like there was a few different people making very different decisions and nobody was fully like agreed on. Like it's like as if okay, we want the story in Liberty City, but we're not all that interested in making Liberty City, or we're not that interested in making Liberty City all that interesting, or it's like I really want to tell this character-based story, and then well, I really just want to do a satire on, modern America, and it just doesn't really like with this one. They went, let's pick a particular time period, a particular like scandal, and this whole particular era, and make it. And that reflected in everything from the style, the music, the artwork, everything was just like a complete package that worked. God, it is a great game, and it's the first game that I ever really, really, really got into, and classed over so many other games, and not for the story. It was like the first one that I just was totally engulfed by just the gameplay, actual game mechanics, and actual game options. I think it kind of opened up my mind to like, oh, there's more to a game than a story. It's like I was just so into stories before that and into characters before that, and I kind of didn't really care how well it played back like before this. And then this game was like, I'm having fun just messing around. This is weird. Is this what like playing a game feels like? Like I discovered playing games for the first time.
Well, I think it is just because there was so much variety in it. Like if you wanted to get lost in the woods, you could. Like I think I mentioned it in an earlier game, or sorry, an earlier episode. The
Bigfoot thing, right?
The Bigfoot thing, where like there's always this rumor that there was a Bigfoot somewhere in the game that you could hunt it down.
Yeah.
And if you look in CJ's mom's house, there's like a picture of a real blurry figure in a forest, and that was like evidence that there's a Bigfoot. And there was rumors of there being an alien in Area 51 and stuff like that. So you kind of spend like days just like going around trying to find these. So there's like, I don't know where these rumors would have started, but because there's like not much internet activity back then,
yeah,
the only way you could like was word of mouth kind of stuff. So you actually had to go and search to see if it was there. But it just gave you more activities to do in a game. It was like now you actually have to go and buy DLC to get fun out of a game. But back then it was just make up a rumor and go have fun with your imagination.
The other thing is you can just discover stuff by literally just going, like you can look at something and go, I wonder, can I drive that? And if the question is, can I drive it? The answer in this game is actually yes, every fucking time. You can drive a train. You can rob and drive a train, and the camera changes and gives you a cinematic view of the train as you drive it and derail it. You can derail the fucking train.
Yeah.
What? This is nuts.
You can rob, like, I mean, you can fly from island to island with a Boeing, like, passenger jet. Or you can rob it and fly it.
Yeah.
And I think if you go a certain altitude or you fly, I can't remember. I just remember robbing one, flying, and then all of a sudden being shot out of the air by an anti-aircraft gun.
That's right. You get all 5 stars for doing that, right?
And then you get your parachute, and you just skydive and land safely. It's mental the amount of stuff you do. Yeah. There's one thing I did one time. I was like, I want to see if this what happens, and it was I robbed a yacht and I sailed outwards, and I just kept going and going and going, and just to see what actually happens. Do you meet a
Yeah,
it's a
like
bit of
when
a
does it
bit of a
turn you around, or yeah.
yeah, a bit of a Truman Show moment just to see what's out there.
Yeah.
And it just kept going. Like the map just kept getting smaller and smaller on your mini map. Like
Right.
getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like, at what point do I just decide to turn around and go back? But it kept going and going and going and going, and eventually it must have been a good hour later, maybe even more.
No.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. I was at it for ages, just like
It keeps going.
just kept going, and it ends up on the other side.
Get out of here.
And you just like end up getting closer and closer and closer back to the opposite side of San Andreas. So you literally
Wow.
go around the world essentially.
But you will never meet other land.
Yeah, it's obviously just it's just
That's
San Andreas.
nuts. No, only because I was we got a boat in GTA 5, myself and Ash, the other day, and we were in the water and we tried that very same thing. Only we ended up turning around because we were like, maybe this is just. Our theory was that it just randomly generates the same waves over and over again, but never ends. Because we were like, surely we're going to hit an invisible wall eventually. We were like, this is going on forever. Here we may just go back. But I wonder if it's the same thing. Like if you persist and keep going. Will you just come back to the other side now? I must try that. I have an hour and a half to spare.
In GTA 5.
Is there?
If you go far enough and get into the water, I think there's a shark.
Oh yeah, there is a shark in
Amazing.
GTA 5.
Wow. I want to see that.
You can't fight the shark, though. It'll kill you.
Bring it on, bro. Bring it on. Take
Yeah,
on anything.
I just spent hours in that game doing like just stupid
Yeah,
shit.
just trying
you know?
shit out, right?
Yeah.
And then the other
Nothing's-
thing is you get options by like, so if you steal a police car, suddenly vigilante missions come up. That
Yes.
like, you didn't know an option. Now it's like, oh, you can now drive around and stop crimes that are going to show up on your map. Or if you steal a fire engine, it's like you can now go around and put out fires. You can do fireman missions. If
Yeah.
you steal a pimp's car, you can now pimp.
Yeah.
You go around driving girls and like there's depending
was
on the
co-op.
vehicle you steal can what?
Yeah, there's 2-player.
San Andreas?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What? Say it again. Say that again.
There is co-op in San
Whisper
Andreas.
sweet nothings. Well, how did that work? I don't remember that.
Plug in a second controller, and then someone plays as another character, and as long as you it kind of works like the Lego games. You
Why
have
does
to
that
be
stay
on
close?
the same screen. It's not like split screen. But yeah, like we used to just
Sounds amazing.
have one person drive the Sanchez, the other person hops on the back and does like drive-bys and stuff. Or you just both post on top of a building, do your cheats to get like rocket launchers and things, just start like shooting at cars and causing mayhem. Yeah.
That should be what the game is called, really, isn't it? Mayhem, because that's kind of just what you spend your time doing.
Yeah.
And never blur the lines of reality. Where would you like to see the GTA series go next? Like, have you ever been engrossed back
Location-wise?
into San Andreas? Like, what would they need to
Dublin.
do to get you back?
I want them to go to Dublin. Imagine the crack. Which is a
Crack
bunch
all
of
bunch.
Irish folk.
The Gardaí.
Yeah,
chasing
Vice-
That
them.
would be the
Well-
smallest map ever.
And by the way, you could think
Oh man,
outside.
be massive like.
You could think outside the realms of possibility here.
No, I would like this. I'd like to see maybe a newer territory. I think the next obvious GTA game is to base it in Vice City again.
Okay.
That's the next obvious one, and I think
I think
that
that's
would
what
be.
they will do.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I mean they've got two now, two in Liberty City and two in San Andreas.
You know what they'll do? It'll be Grand Theft Auto Vice City, but the VI in Vice will be the 6. They're like,
Damn.
But you can't call it. You can't do Call of Duty. No, not Call of Duty. Grand
you
Theft Auto.
certainly can't do that.
No, you can't call it the Vice City because there's already Grand Theft Auto Vice City. That's called
I know.
something else.
I just
Vice
thought that
City
could
2.
turn VI into.
The Return of Miami Vice.
Well, I think that would be really interesting because, last Vice City was very, very dated in terms of what they could do. But imagine seeing that like in today's standards, like because obviously GTA, even GTA 5, the graphics are pretty good for how old that game is.
I think it's really good.
Well,
I'm really
compared to
surprised.
Red Dead 2, which
Well,
is their latest game.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So imagine Vice City with fucking that game engine.
Yeah.
That's actually Rockstar is one of those companies where when they say the map is bigger, it's not necessarily them trying to clickbait you into buying into looking at their game. I think just because they will populate it with enough stuff to do.
Jeez,
Like
I
they
have
go
to give,
all ends to make.
yeah, as a developer, I got to give Rockstar a lot of credit. Like they
They're
make
fantastic.
huge worlds and give you lots of content as a gamer, you know. They never like okay, so for me, they do fall short on the story aspect, right? I think they've given their Red Dead games a stronger story than they've ever given their GTA games. But maybe having done Red Dead 2 now and it had a much more cinematic quality and even, you know, got like an award for the
Best actor.
voice actor, right?
Best voice actor, yeah.
For the story that they told in that, they took it really seriously and they grounded it. Like, I think the next GTA game, man, I actually hope the next game to do is GTA, but I think it could. They're not ever going to lose the satire, obviously, but they could tell it really.
That would be like I would rather
juggling
them. Yeah,
really.
I would rather them stick with satire and not go like full on story with GTA, because for me it's a bit like if you look at Naughty Dog with Uncharted and The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Like they could have gone way more serious. Like they did make it Uncharted 4 a little bit more serious based on their learning from The Last of Us, but they were like, okay, but let's not forget that this is Uncharted, right? So, you know, not everything has to be fucking super depressing and the end of the world and all. So although it works for one game, that doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for the other. And I think GTA 4 for me is a result of this kind of demonstrates that like that's supposed to have a really good story arc for that character, but I just think it loses it's in touch with GTA. So I'd rather them keep it being the kind of more blank hero satire based game.
Yeah.
But outside of Vice City, I mean, there's probably some more interesting areas in the US they could explore. Maybe like the Texas area could be pretty fun, like the down south kind of area.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I mean that
like swamplands of Virginia or Illinois.
Well, there's a lot. Like I mean, you know, the geography there is pretty interesting, but obviously the politics is, you know.
Wow. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's mental down there, you know.
Yeah.
So they could do some like really interesting shit with that. And
I can't wait to see how they do like satire on the US president in the next GTA game. You can just see they're so going to touch on that. There's no way they're not going to. Whatever it is, like, you know.
And although like San Andreas and stuff, like I think is probably the most. Again, I don't know too much about US, but as far as I know, like that area, like the San Francisco kind of area, is really, really diverse, and a lot of the game companies are actually over on that side of the US, and they are very diverse, so they're not as prone to like political issues so much as they would be like down south of the US. Or even on the opposite side, you know, even like the likes of what would be Liberty City doesn't have as much issues as what would be further south. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be a little bit more interesting to explore because it's, you know, as we get a little bit more.
There's a lot more satire options even down south.
Yeah, well, I just think what GTA's strength is when they have something that they could criticize, you know?
Yeah, and draw real inspiration from.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot. I mean, obviously, there's, you know, every area has its issues, but I think we want to focus on the biggest problems and criticize them.
Yeah.
So that's why I think, probably Texas.
Cool. What about you, Eric? Where would you like to see potentially a GTA game or the GTA series go next? And again, this is all just your own.
I think it'd be cool if they went up north where it was all snowy and they could put in like some nice extra detail where if you look closely enough, the exhaust pipe of the car shrinks in the cold and expands in the heat.
Dude, are you making fun?
That's a Red Dead.
Yeah, I know.
You make it fun, man. You make it fun, man. Come on, man.
Well, actually, yeah, no, I think down south would be good, especially considering you do have the likes of like the border control type idea as well that you can kind of. So I think actually an interesting would be a Hispanic person who's crawling out of one fire and essentially going into another.
Right.
So escaping their old life of like maybe the cartel, crossing the border into another area, and then dealing with that, all those issues that could.
I actually do think it'd be really cool to play as someone from a Latin American background. I think that would be a really good avenue to go down, actually. Especially if you want to touch on the satire of like the modern U.S. president and like the thoughts of building walls and all this kind of talk and shite, you know. To play of someone from that background makes a lot of sense, and I think it could be a really good avenue to go down. Is there particular? Do you think it should be Texas as well, then, Eric?
Well, not necessarily Texas, just kind of like, you know,
or it's just somewhere that borders.
Yeah, somewhere down that
side
of the US.
They always use. Well, no, I don't know. They don't always use, but a lot of their good stories are always based in their own fictitious story, in their own fictitious location, because they're able to do kind of whatever they want. So
yeah, no, like obviously it'd be a fictional representation of said place or location. Yeah. There's two. I think that's a really good idea, and I think it makes sense, and it's probably where they will go next. There's a dream of mine. Where I'd love them to go. I would, and I always said it as a child. I would love if Rockstar could make like a deal with Warner Brothers and make Grand Theft Auto Gotham City. Man, are you kidding me? Come on. That would be the greatest thing ever. Where you just play as like some low-life criminal in Gotham, but it's got all the game mechanics of a GTA game, and it's got all the satire of it. But you know, if you get 5 stars, Batman will chase you, and like you're screwed. you're screwed. Like you know. So
yeah, I always think that type of game can be done. That could be done by Rocksteady. They could easily do that.
Oh, Rocksteady?
Yeah.
I know they could, but I think you'd be taken. It's kind of like when Simpsons did Hit and Run, and you can't help but go, I mean, this is a Grand Theft Auto game, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, Simpsons Hit and Run is, you know, people love the hell out of that game.
Yeah.
You know, and the same with like The Getaway, right? And I think The Getaway is a fantastic game, made by London Studio, I believe, PlayStation exclusive.
I don't remember.
But it's basically Snatch. You know, it's based in London. But it is actually London, so all the cars and stuff are existing cars.
Yeah.
But it is basically Grand Theft Auto London, and it's really good. I'm shocked they haven't done more Getaway games. Like the sequels to Getaway were not great, but I'm shocked they haven't revived it.
Right. Okay.
But that, you know, and then there is the Driver games as well. There's like similarities with Grand Theft Auto. So there are Grand Theft Auto style games that can be done. What makes the Grand Theft Auto games special though is it's not necessarily the gameplay. It's the world they've created, its ability to, you know, poke fun at reality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that would translate necessarily well if they took up someone else's material. Whereas Rocksteady have shown that they are able to, you know, play with the existing Batman material.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think they've shown with the Arkham Knight, they could easily do a drive around Gotham game.
Oh, they could do, yeah. Like when I say like I think a GTA Gotham game would be cool. I do not want a Batman story. Like Batman's not character really in it, you know, or you may see Bruce Wayne on billboards and shit. That's it. Like and poke fun, like go Lego
it's
Batman.
And it's a cool concept having like this low life like thug.
Yeah.
Who aspires to be the Prince of Crime like the Joker, or have an empire like the Penguin, you know, and looks up to those guys as like, you know, and wants to make it. And you come up with your own like name and you know, suits for your gang to have and stuff, and
Once you
it
build
could
up
be
a
really
gang and
fucking
stuff,
it could
that
be
could be
really
funny.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be. It would
wearing
be
like
funny.
domino masks and shit, and
Yeah.
like set it in that like in the animated series, like if you had all those like 1940s, 1950s style cars and shit.
Man,
And,
we're
like,
sitting on a fucking
color
gold mine
toner.
here, right?
It could
Because
be a great game. Are you
because
kidding
like
me? Come on.
having customizable, like stupid customizable characters is
Yeah.
so in right now with
It's
like
fucking
the
amazing.
Fortnite and
Fortnite is
shit.
shit. Fortnite
like-
is shit.
Yeah,
You have
screw
to-
it. Don't make it like a
Let's not
GTA game. Just make it like
Post
a.
this because this is a great idea and we should
Shit,
take
they're
this to
gonna
someone.
steal it from us. Like, they're gonna steal our idea that we came up with based on other people's ideas.
That's the games
Gonna-
industry.
Microtransaction this shit. But yeah, in a dream world, I think that
Careful,
would actually
you'll give EA a hard on.
That sounds like a line from a GTA game, actually. Sounds like something beyond the radio show. In a dream world, I think that would be a cool game. But another cool setting, I think, would be somewhere like Detroit or Hawaii. I don't know.
Imagine Hawaii.
Hawaii would be fun. I think Hawaii would be a lot of fun. Because I thought about Detroit at one point. And I was like, I don't know, though. It might be a bit dull in color tone. It might feel a bit like Liberty City. You know, like there's a lot going on there, but it's also kind of it would fit more a thriller type thing rather than this gangsta kind of game, you know. And then I thought, well, where else is nice and colorful? Maybe Hawaii would be cool. You know, like the Hawaii 5-0 type thing. That could be fun. But actually, I think he was around to something. I think somewhere down south that borders South America and playing as like someone from a Latin American background, I think that is the road to go down for the next GTA game.
Yeah. Would you have it like set now with the like, or would you take today's politics and set it in another time era?
I don't know, actually. Yeah, that's interesting because I think
Because it could be interesting, like dealing with the Bush era, but you take you combine it with some of the politics that is today.
right.
So that way you have like the fear of like the war at the time and
Yeah.
the issues there as well with the different, I suppose, races and religions and all that kind of stuff. So you're kind of combining those two eras of the US.
Yeah.
You're coming at it from a Latin America perspective.
I feel like they will set it in our era, but they can still touch on that stuff, right? Like, because I think they're really liking the whole iFruit thing, and they always have like iFruit app that you can use.
And I think they always set it in essentially the decade they've made it.
No.
Sure, San Andreas was the 90s.
San Andreas is the 90s.
When did they make that?
Came out into 2000s. Yeah, Vice City was the 80s. I think GTA 3 was the 80s as well. They used to always go back. GTA 4 was the first time, I think, or maybe Liberty City, where they came into a modern era.
Yeah, 4 is like early 2000s, I think. But yeah, it's just something about like the nostalgic factor as well.
Yeah, I think the music would be better if it was set back. You know.
But there's also that whole like, Jesus, look at the state of them back then kind of a thing as well, which I think is fun to look back on. That's one thing I just got, like, because GTA 5 I think is really fun, but it's not the San Andreas I remember.
Right, yeah.
You know,
it's a new
like
San Andreas. Yeah, it's a new...
It's completely lost the kind of the magic of it, I think.
Right.
So there's just something about like driving around in a very modern place that just is not as fun, I think.
Yeah. I think it is interesting to set like a period, because as well, like even Vice City, even the way it's written, it's got that neon 80s kind of vibe, but it's got like an 80s soundtrack, I believe, in the intro and stuff, you know, or when you pop San Andreas in, you know, you've got that hip hop kind of soundtrack coming on.
It's such a cool tune.
Yeah, it's straight out of the 90s, you know what I mean? It's and you can play basketball outside your house, you're playing a bit of b-ball, you know, it's you can go in. There's actually, when I was playing it there not that long ago, I went into a shop and there was I was like, why can I come in? Normally when you go in somewhere, there's something you can do, and there was no options to do something. So I was like, why can I come in here? What's the idea? And then I saw this pinball machine and I went over there and said, do you want to play that? I was like, wow, I could just walk into a shop and play a game. Yes, I'll play a game inside this game. Thank you. And I played the game and it was a great game. It was like this pinball game, and I was like, this game is... No, sorry. It was kind of like...
Arcade game?
Yeah, it kind of actually worked like a Space Invader type thing. You were like a little
Alright.
ball and you were shooting at other balls, and it's just nuts the amount of stuff you can do by just walking into places and having a look.
Yeah.
So much to do. Before we finish up, what's your favorite thing about San Andreas? And it could be something that you did once. It could be something that you loved to do, or it's just something you remember from it. But the game as a whole, what is your favorite thing about San Andreas? Could be just the setting, even.
I could be wrong in saying this,
Okay.
but I don't remember being able to go into police stations and explore them as much as you can in San Andreas.
All right. Okay.
I remember I found that out. Well, it was obviously years ago, but it was like I went back to play San Andreas after like I think PS3 was coming out or something like that. It was near the end of the PS2 era or something like that, and I decided to put back on San Andreas and just play it for a bit because I was bored. And I kind of just thought to myself, I wonder if you can just go into the police station, and you can, and you just walk around, and you can find like some body armor and some ammo, and you can find like a shotgun. The minute you pick it up, all the cops turn on you, and it becomes
Wow.
yeah. The minute you take out a weapon, they all turn on you. I was like, this is realistic. And
Brilliant.
that
And
was
did you go-
I had so much fun. Again, you die, and I died, and I was like, all right,
Let's do
try
it
it
again.
again.
See how I
Let's
get
do it
on.
again.
Did you go down to the holding cells and stuff? Like, did they have? Was it a fully equipped police station or?
I mean, it was all 2D and all the, there's no detail, but yeah, I think it was down in like, oh no, it was in the offices where you got.
Yeah, when
the
I say
body.
fully equipped, I don't mean like was it lifelike? Were you in it? Like, could you get to the copy machine?
Man, VR, man, it was great. Don't drop the soap. I don't know if you went to the holding cells.
You weren't in prison, man.
The
Oh,
VR set, man,
God.
it felt like it. That's a real felt, man. I don't know if you went in the holding cells, but it was
Alright.
still. Yeah, you could explore it more than you could explore. I think even in GTA 5, I don't know if you can explore police stations in that game.
I haven't tried. To be honest, I've always tried to avoid them. But pretty interested. You're like going against the grain, man. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm going where the stars come from. I'm gonna fight the battle right at the source. What about you, Adam?
Radio X. Radio
Yeah.
X is just the finest thing about that game. in my
Ah,
opinion.
it's so good. Yeah, I think so as well. Radio X is just
Yeah.
makes you happy, doesn't it, when you're getting into a car and drive off on some long road somewhere and you go, I don't care what my destination is. It's like, what are you doing right now? I'm listening to the radio. Like,
Yeah.
I'm putting on San Andreas to listen to some music, okay?
Yeah.
Take me somewhere far away so I can listen to it all. Yeah, it's so good. That, and I take the setting, the 90s setting. I love that.
Yeah.
I just think it's so strangely relatable. Like, we're not American at all. Never grew up in that background or backdrop. Obviously, it's a different culture, and yet there was a lot of it was recognizable. I don't know why. I think it's because it influenced a culture that came in the 2000s that became pop culture in a weird
Yeah.
way. Like, actual real life culture influenced pop culture that then everyone was trying to imitate. And it was like you nearly saw the roots of where that came from. It's weirdly relatable. Like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be. It kind of shouldn't be, but it was. So I enjoyed that. But anyway, those are our thoughts on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. It was probably the most manic and mayhemic episode we've ever done. There was like no order or sense. It was
No,
like,
we're just
stick to
going
the
over
game.
here to there to there.
But actually, that's what it's like to play the game. So if you play GTA San Andreas in the past, do get in touch to let us know your own thoughts on it, how you felt about the game, what your favorite experience of it was. Also, do let us know where you think GTA as a series should go next, where you think it would be an interesting location to base it, either in America or outside of America. Maybe start a petition to get this GTA Gotham going. And yeah, just let us know all your thoughts on GTA as a series in general. And we'll be back next week to talk about one of the other games that we class as the top 5 PS2 games. But until then, bye-bye.
Sad dudes.
We're gonna have to fix the outro.